What's up, guys? It's everybody's favorite international fixer and misfit. I'm coming to you live from beautiful sunny Tirana, Albania. And I'm here today with a previous customer and who turned out to be a very good friend. And he's got a wild story. He's going to tell you about his experiences throughout the entire pandemic. He came into the country through us. He got it set up. He ended up loving Vietnam, and then the entire world ended. So let's hear about that. Let's hear about how that story went.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jay. It's a pleasure to see you. And so, I actually want to start by saying I think Vietnam is an amazing country. And I would say anyone who is looking for a good adventure, good cost of living, good job opportunities, big salary, come to Vietnam because it is a special place. I think that, if you watch Jay's videos as well, you guys will know there are some stories though. So you got to be careful and you got to be smart about it. Now, for me, actually, this story has a happy ending, even though it may seem in the beginning that it's not going to be good. But I'm currently working at an international school, and recently they told me that they were going to take maybe $280, $290 out of my salary in order to pay for background check and then the overstay fees. And I really don't want to get into it because I've heard every argument about how like this is normal and you have to pay this. It's just that I've been on this literally for months and we were just in the middle of a pandemic where we couldn't leave at all. So to me, the whole like, oh, there was a way to get around this. Like, I don't buy it. I just don't actually see that that was the case. But anyway, so they just went on and I tried to be as polite as I could. And I told them, I really don't think this is okay. And they basically just told me to go fuck myself, right? Like, they didn't care. They didn't actually really want to address the problem here.
Okay.
And so then,
so you
yeah,
worked
go ahead.
in an international school, right?
Mhm.
And when you first got hired by them, did the relationship seem like it was going to go well, or were
No,
there?
so I just wanted to say, you talked in your videos as well about the challenges of an international school and how it's way more work than normal just for a little bit more pay. And then that's the problem. The trade-off's not very good. In
Okay.
my particular case, actually, this school was very easy to work at. And I would argue that I had relatively little requirements. So actually, it was a good job. I had a good salary. It really was unfortunate to do this. I really wrestled with myself to consider doing this. The problem I have is that you have to know where your boundaries are. So that's for me very, very important. Be flexible as you possibly can. And as far as culture or getting along with people, be very, very flexible because Vietnam is challenging like that. But I would say one boundary you gotta have is if people take your money, right? If they take your money for any reason and you can't find a legitimate way that they could have taken it, in your opinion, it doesn't matter even if they say it's not like that. It's like, well, you got to use your judgment here, right? And in my opinion, if people are taking money from you, it's a red flag. You got to end the relationship no matter what, even if it's painful. Okay. And so I think, you have to be very careful about who you get into bed with, right? You got to be very careful about your employer. But anyway, so, this had happened and I went to them finally and I said, look, I quit. I just
Okay.
can't do this job anymore because look, you're going to be taking money from me and there's no possible way I'm cool with that. And they begged me to stay. They begged me, to talk with the CEO as if like he's going to change it. He's the one who probably said take the money from the foreigners, right? Like it's nonsense for me to talk to him as if like somehow I'm magically going to change his mind or whatever, right? But so
Okay.
I told him
So,
I'm
so
quitting.
help us understand. So where
Mhm.
was the money being taken? What was their excuse for taking the money?
Right. So the way that they were claiming the money taking was legitimate was that they were going to have me pay for a background check and for the overstay fee. So for both of them, it's a problem because for the
Okay.
overstay fee, that should have never happened because I was on this for months. I was on getting to make sure that I have, my work permit and TRC. That should have never happened at all because I had
Mhm.
been so on top of it. So for them to say, "Oh, well, it's your fault," it's like, no, it's not. It's actually
Mhm.
your guys' fault for even having us like have to investigate and get our passport over. So we had to do all the work in getting this done, and that's already an interesting thing. Like, why would you have your employees who don't even speak Vietnamese to do this very procedural thing? It just doesn't even make any sense. But
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not even quite finished with the story yet, believe it or not,
Oh,
because so after I quit, a day goes by. Now, actually, I am the head of the math department at this
okay,
school. So the funny thing is that I was doing the classes that no one else could do. So I was doing the
sure.
very highest level of math. So the level I'm doing is so rare that even the other math teachers bombed it. And I mean bombed. Like they didn't know a single answer is
Uh,
what I've been told. So I have this ability that's basically one in a million.
yeah,
And I'm
right.
not saying if you're talking about the world, I would hardly have any ability if you put me in the right group. Like I want to be clear on that. But in Ho Chi Minh City, it's like one
Yeah,
in a million. It really, really is rare. So here's the problem. They had the math teachers try to teach the class, couldn't do it. They got
oh,
everything wrong. Then they're desperately calling me back, telling me, Matt, we'll fix the fees if you come back. And so I actually still have this job because they needed me that badly that finally they were ready to negotiate. That's another big thing too, is negotiate hard. You don't realize that you got a lot of power if you're
yeah.
smart about it. You have a ton of
Especially,
power. So
especially if you're
negotiate hard, especially if you feel it's right. And try to be open-ended, try to be open-minded. But if they cross your line, you can negotiate against that. And you have a lot of power.
okay. So this was the dynamic that's happening with this international school. When did you arrive in Vietnam? Like around what month was it? And what was the environment like? And then what has
Yeah,
like 6 months been like for you? What has it been like
right,
pandemic? How has this school made it better or worse? Just give us some
right.
of a clear picture of maybe the last 6 months of your life.
Yeah. So I arrived December of last year, so that would be December of 2020. And I was in the hotel room, so I did the quarantine for about 2 weeks. I got out and I had an amazing time up until the big pandemic hit. And I think, Jay, was this maybe May? I forget the exact month. Do you remember? It was around May, I believe.
But I
Something
got
like that.
Dodge in June or July.
Right, maybe June. It probably was like May, June or something. But here's what happened, basically, and Jay, you escaped most of it actually. But what ended up happening was that for 3 months straight, essentially we couldn't leave our apartment unless it was for an emergency or to
Mm,
get food. But it was very rare to leave your apartment for any reason. You could go a whole week without being able to leave your apartment at all. And if you're leaving, it's for go to the grocery store, you gotta have a code, you have to have a coupon, like we're rationing food now. I mean,
It's
so I don't think in my lifetime I'd ever experienced anything like that. But
wow.
there we are. We're in the grocery store once a week, and then that's it. We couldn't leave at all. So we dealt with that. But the great thing was because I was working at international school, they just had me teach online. So
Right.
that was easy. After that, things have been more or less back to normal. But you know what's crazy is we're back up to maybe 13,000 cases a day now.
Right.
Before, when they opened it back up, it was maybe 3,000. It was looking great, but kind of like other countries, it was down and then it shoots right back up. Okay.
Uh,
So, not a nice time. It was definitely not good to see that. But here we are again. We're back at 13,000. Now, it hasn't closed down yet,
okay.
but I don't know. And I have literally no idea. I really try to not speculate on this. There's no possible way I can know what the Vietnamese government will do. They do what they want. It's very arbitrary. It's very what they feel like. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
from the rumors I hear, it's pretty. It's like it's politically impossible for
Right.
them to do it again. So it's very unlikely.
I mean, that's great news for everybody. I mean, I'm actually looking at going to Cambodia just because the handling
Right.
of the pandemic and the hostility to the foreigners, it just wasn't there. So
Sure.
everything
Sure.
that happened in Saigon, like they had the lockdowns and stuff, but they didn't start, throwing out retired people and, extorting people. I mean, this
Right. Yeah. It's
really,
unbelievable. No, all the stories, all the people. We have retired military vets. They've been here their whole lives, and then they're like, "Oh, you got 2 weeks. Good luck. We know
yep,
you built your whole life here. Bye." It was
yeah,
like it was shocking. It was really shocking. Vietnamese people are nice, but they also have this switch, right? And so if they hit this switch and they suddenly don't care about you, you're done. You're
mm,
just out of there. They're not going to say sorry. You didn't build any relation. That's the best part. You could build a whole relationship, but if that switch is flipped from the government or whatever, you're dead to them. And they'll they'll basically just take you out. But the thing is, you just try to make sure that that doesn't happen. I think that if you can get here legally, so that's a very thorny subject, I understand, but being here legally with an actual job or with capital to start your own business is probably the best thing to do if you really want to come over to Vietnam. I would say try as much as you can to do it legally, to be making money for them. If you make money for them, they're cool with you. As soon as you can't make money for them, you're gone. So you just have to be open to them.
We can help facilitate all that. I mean, and to be honest, I've worked with lots of like genuinely decent people there, but
Sure.
the problem that you get is that even if the people in Saigon, for example, they want to do something, they don't really have the final say. It ultimately comes down from Hanoi. So Hanoi sets policy, and then that's just what it is.
Right.
So,
Right. It's not even personal. I already know so many Vietnamese who have been so generous and grateful to me, and actually they treat me unbelievably well. I actually can't believe it. I just would say you gotta like have a sense of perspective because it's not going to be like they're your family now.
no,
Okay. Marry a Vietnamese woman. And I think you can have more family that way, but it's always difficult because we're halfway around the world when we're
right.
over here. We are different, and that's actually totally okay. But you just gotta have a sense of perspective. Come here with a mission, try to make money. You're gonna do great if you can keep that relationship going. Try to stay out of trouble. Try not to get into any legal issues because it's very hot right now. They're
Yeah.
just they have no tolerance whatsoever for that right now.
No, and the fees are of an extortion level. If you get on a
Yep.
blacklist right now, it'll
Yes.
cost anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000 US dollars to get off of a
Exactly
blacklist.
right.
And there's
Right.
no
It's
guarantee
unbelievable.
that you'll even get off. Now, have you throughout the time that you were going through all this with the lockdown, with having to get the food, was your school in any way helpful, or were they?
No, no, not really. I mean, most of the schools I don't think were helpful. I give you another story because one of the math teachers in my department, he got COVID at his old school. He had to actually go into the hospital, but they never paid him for going into the hospital. They just let him pay for everything. And then he was fired from his job because he was missing weeks of school.
So this is at
So,
an international level. So,
not at my school, at another one.
but it's not some
Another
tech
one did
job.
this.
It's like a real
No, just an
school.
international school job. That's right.
Hmm.
So it's just that's the stakes. That's let's call it the downside. That's the risk of coming over here is if your business deals go south, they'll go south. There's
Yeah.
not really a safety net. But that's part of the fun of being here, I'd say, is that it is a risk, but you're going to get so much out of it because you're taking a real risk. Like I think for my generation, for the millennials, right? And I guess Jay, I think you're part of millennials if I remember right. But
Millennial by 1 year.
by 1 year, yeah, you're close,
One
but you're a
year.
millennial too. I think your generation, we lost so much from, we talked about this before, Bush, Clinton, the
Yep.
neoliberals. The neoliberals tanked the United States very quickly. But what they also did, I would say, is they took away risk. All right, so let me explain that. If you go to, if you live in America or if you go there, it's so easy. It's so like everything is done for you if you got the money. But if you don't, everything's ridiculously expensive. You don't get paid. I'd say it's because there's no risk. But when you go over to Vietnam or China or, name a country where you can make some money. Well, if you take a risk, you're going to make more money than someone who didn't. So you're getting
Sure.
paid for taking that risk. And here's the thing, because the United States took away risk, you take away the salary. When you take a risk, that's where you get your money. But you're getting money where you're paying a third of what you were paying in the United States. And it's
Yeah.
a good salary. Mine is maybe at or even above what I could get in the United States. It's good. It's a few
So
thousand. It's not just like 1 or 2,000. It's more.
so
Could be
my
5, 6,000
experience
a month.
my experience so far has been that it's international schools at times can definitely attract some very weird characters who have some very
Yep.
weird ideas about
Fair
Vietnam,
enough.
about how
Yep.
the country really operates. How are some of the people that you've had to work with at this company? How's
Mm.
that?
Actually, that's a really great point too, because I have so many teachers who think that they're the messiah. I have one teacher, so she was actually the head of the drama department. She quit, like she just up and left. I think she left Vietnam as well. She
Okay.
said she was literally a master And I'm like, you're a master who makes 50,000 a year. I mean, that's good. It's good, but you got people making millions a year or more, right? So it's like understand what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
she's a master, and like she can't believe that the standards haven't been aligned with the California Common Core. I'm like, do you know where you are? Do you know how little they care about any of that? They don't care about any of that, but somehow you want to go on and on. You're a master. Oh
Yeah.
man, just the characters, the people who think like they're gonna write a book about this shit. It's just like you tell me where we get these people from who can't understand. It's a developing country. They don't give two shits about the
Yeah.
fucking standards. Who cares?
And that's at a fucking international school. You should see
There's
these freaks in the public school when they think they're going to come in there
oh,
and
it's
to be like,
ridiculous.
what was that fucking teacher's name? From the
They don't
movie,
even remember your name. Yeah, that they'll not remember
Lean
your
on
name a
Me.
year from now.
No,
Right?
what was the
You're 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 replaceable. I think maybe less so for me, no brags, but maybe less so for me just because of my situation. But you are still replaceable. Even me. I mean, I think I've got good timing because they can't bring people into the country. There's no one
okay?
right now who can teach at the level I teach at. It's very, very hard. It's 1 in 1,000
Right.
easily. So you're going to need time at the very, very least. And just they won't want to. The students all complained and said, get this guy back. They said, we don't want the new teacher. Get the old teacher back. Look, that's power. That's an endorsement. So I've got good students, and I built a very solid curriculum that I don't think most people could. But understand, even for me and for anyone else, we're all disposable and we got to be careful.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what I was saying. Like, I was trying to remember the name of the movie. I think it was like Lean on Me or Stand by Me, one of those, where the guy
Mm.
goes to the rough high school in Newark and he just turns all the kids around. I mean, there's some
Right.
people who have this fucking fantasy, and
Oh
it's
man.
not going to happen
Yeah.
in Vietnam. You are not changing a goddamn thing in Vietnam.
Yeah, it's like Stand and Deliver, or they think they're Mr. Keating from Dead Poets Society, or they've seen a character on a movie. They think they're in a movie now, and that they're the fucking star. And you're
Yeah.
not. That's the best part. You got to understand, you're not the star of this movie. Come over to
No,
Vietnam.
you're not
You are
in the
not the
driver's
star.
seat here. You're not in control. So tell
No.
us, okay. So your experience throughout the pandemic with this school, they didn't have your back. Some of the people you worked with were
No.
completely weird. Um,
Yeah.
where do you think all this is going with Vietnam? Like, do you think that the
Mm.
country is going to move towards opening?
I think so. And I think that in terms of international education, Vietnam will kind of become the new China. And the reason why is that the salaries are really good. They're almost as good as China, just off by maybe a few $100. Like that's
Mhm.
very close. But it's maybe half the price even of China. Like, look, if you're going to go to Shanghai, Beijing, or whatever, you're going to be spending a lot of money to live there, just like America. And then you're kind of asking yourself, well, I'm in China and I don't even have YouTube and I have a lot less comfort and it's a police state. Well, what am I making this money for? Especially if I lose half of it living in Shanghai. Well, what's the point of that? When you could be saving 80%, 90% of your income. I easily do that every single month. 90%. You're going to build all sorts of savings, pay off debt, but also it's a beautiful country, amazing food, amazing life, nightlife, really whatever you want.
So you
Great
actually
stuff. It's just a
things
great value.
you see things recovering, and you see Vietnam moving into the new spotlight for ESL.
Yeah.
Um, How do you see that happening? Do you think they're going to start to open? Like, do you think they're going to like because right now what I'm seeing on the visa side is they're throwing everybody out of the fucking country. It's going the exact
Mhm.
opposite direction of open.
It
But you're
is. I agree with that.
so tell me like what you're feeling. What are you feeling on the streets? What are you feeling in the environment? Just bring us into like what's happening in Vietnam and your Vietnam right now.
Uh-huh. I think that, yeah, a big problem I'd say is if you're in a center, or especially if you're in a center and your legal situation is not 100%, be very careful. Your situation is probably tenuous. For
Mhm.
the international teachers, I feel that for the most part, things are still stable. Really, the reason why is all countries right now can anchor on two big economies. They can anchor on China or the United States. Now, the thing about Vietnam, they don't really like China because China's a bully. even though officially they're all in the same Communist Party. They've latched onto America, especially Ho Chi Minh, where there's
Right.
American everything. It's freaky, but like there's Americana everywhere. You can sometimes feel like you're back at home. You see all this Americana stuff around. But this is good for us because they've really latched on to us. And that means for teachers they respect who are doing something where there's a legal backing or there's just some reason why you're not just replaceable. You're really good because you're in a situation where they need you and there's going to be a big renaissance. There's going to be a huge explosion of education here because, again, you can't have a school in China now. It's really not feasible. But you can build a school in Vietnam and make more or less the same amount of money.
Do
Probably
you
better because, again, it's cheap. Businesses are cheap. You probably need more capital, but running the business will be dirt cheap. And
do you see
these
it
schools print money.
like inside, like around you, like because I'm hearing that like the countryside is fucked. The public school system has no teachers, so when it opens, it's most of these companies are
That's
gonna,
very true. Right.
you know.
I can at least speak from my experience in my international school, but for the most part, again, requirements have been very little. I probably teach 2.5 hours a day. Like
Okay,
that's it. And it's all online. So there's no sorts of extracurriculars or having to stay after school. There's none of that. So I just teach and I'm done.
that's great.
I think we get 10 weeks of vacation and it's
Wow.
100% paid. So it's just the benefits are piled on. We get medical insurance and it's like world class. We could use it in America. It's just good. I think again, the reason why we're okay, unlike other teachers, is that there's going to be an explosion of international education here.
Right.
That they're really going to be into that. And not just like learning English, which is good, but I mean like our school's accredited and they get an American high school diploma when they're done. Then they can
Right.
use that to get into American colleges. That's a
Now,
big deal. That has real value.
definitely. Now, throughout this time that you've been working with this international school,
Yeah.
you're in Vietnam, you're seeing what's happening, everything starts to close. Are you able to earn an income while everything is closed?
Yeah.
Are you
The
you
whole
are?
time. Yeah, because I'm doing everything online. Another big reason why you want to be in an international school. So these language schools or whatever, when they close, you're not getting paid. If for
Right.
whatever reason you're not working, you're not getting paid. So many of the English teachers, they feel the heat during the summer when there's no work, not fun. But if you're
Right.
working at an international school, you get 100% paid the entire time,
Mm.
including while on vacation. And right now, while I've been doing the online schooling, I get the same salary. Nothing's been cut. They did try to take some money from me. So they're not perfect at all. I can
No.
still run into problems. You know, I'm like everyone else. I can still run into problems even though I've got this background that is unusual. But that said, I would say the international schools, they're going to have a lot more of a chance where it's decent and it will be legit. And
Okay.
it won't be this constant, am I going to be fired? Is this company going to fail? Do they not have
Right.
enough students? None of that's ever happened really. We
But
have too much demand.
that's
Too
also
many
at the
students want to go to our school.
I think at the top level of international schools, because I think some international schools will fire for arbitrary reasons, and like there is
Could,
going to
yeah.
be some stability because you're dealing with fucked up personalities.
Yeah,
Sometimes in the
naturally.
international system, you're going to be working for somebody who's a real fucking narcissist maniac. Like, I mean, it was often foreigners are in key positions, not necessarily even Vietnamese.
Right.
So it's a very different dynamic than working in a public school. But I'll tell you right now, the people who work in the public schools or the private centers, I don't know how the fuck most of them would have survived. I think quite a few have left. I think the
Yeah.
entire industry in Vietnam is looking to collapse. It's very uncertain for what that's going to look like. I hope things get better for Vietnam. I love the country and I want to see everybody there be successful. So I hope they make the right decisions. But what do you think about all these lockdowns? Do you think this is actually
Yeah.
preventing the
It's not
problem?
good. It's just not good. And even the Vietnamese have rioted. So there's videos already out now. The Vietnamese have rioted against these lockdowns, and then all of a sudden they were fine. And of course, the cases are creeping back up. So we'll have to see. I don't know if the government will say, "Oh, the cases have gotten too bad, so we got to change our minds." Maybe just
Right.
use that as evidence that it's okay. But no, no one in Vietnam, it just wasn't. The problem too is that so many people had no way to make money. I was
Mm,
definitely one of the lucky ones, but so many expats and especially the local people could not make money. and then
Yeah.
everything's closed. So it's like, how do you eat? That was for 3 months. You have people with an unstable food supply for 3 months. How do you do that?
Well,
How can you actually have a country run that way? It doesn't
how
even make sense.
how did it look when the locals that you see, were they struggling? Was it really difficult for them?
I saw, yeah, a little bit. I saw some people out on the street and they would open up just some, it's not licensed, obviously, it's right out of their house. And they just do it because, again, it was that or starve, right?
Right.
They just did it. If they get a fine, they get a fine. Like, they starve either way. So take a
Right.
chance. But I
So
saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of craftiness. We know a few Vietnamese, right? We remember a few of the Vietnamese, they said to us, our friends,
right.
we can't even make any money. Can you help us out? It was serious. It was something I don't know how much longer I could have survived it, frankly.
Well,
Did
there's
the best that
Vietnamese
I could.
that we work
Tough.
with for our service that you know as well because you've used us, and even they were in a very hard spot where one of our most reliable hustlers, this Vietnamese real estate agent. He's
Yeah.
just
I
a
know what you're
great,
talking about, but right.
and he ended up in the point where he barely had enough to even eat.
Yeah.
So I hope that they decide enough. Listen, I have no issues with the Vietnamese government. It's their country. They can manage it however they want. But I
Right.
personally want to see Vietnam successful. And I think previously they were doing a very good job of walking a line between America and China in a way which was benefiting their country. And they did a very
Yeah.
good job managing the pandemic. They didn't scare away investment. And what's happened now in the last few months, I just think has been this horror show. It's destroyed investor confidence. It's destroyed people wanting to stay or do business with Vietnam. Big companies have left Vietnam now. So it's a very fragile time. Like, I mean, just outside of the context of teaching, how do you see this proceeding for the nation itself?
I think that Vietnam has a very uncertain future, but I see as well they've actually made a lot of investments even around my neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I don't mean uncertain in a negative way. I think it's actually up in the air. I think that their relationship with the West may be harmed, but I think the people they feel at least they're the insiders, they won't matter.
Right.
And they won't care as much. They won't care as much about this. But also, I think that there is a lot of investment coming into Vietnam still,
Mm,
because I saw throughout the pandemic new businesses that were planned and they were going to shoot up. So I
yeah.
think that the pandemic, for people who, again, they felt like they're the insiders, they felt that they were savvy, that they had the right connections, they think that Vietnam is going to improve for them, that it's going to make them even more money. And I do feel that way. But I also see it that there's a lot of uncertainty in the negative sense, yeah, and a lot of suffering. I saw a
Well,
lot of expats and locals suffer, and that wasn't cool. It put me on edge for sure. It definitely put me on edge.
I just opened up like three different businesses for people in the last month and a half. So there is
Yeah, makes
absolutely
sense.
people who think that Vietnam is going to come up again. There's no
Right,
question.
right.
It's one of my staples of my business is helping people open these businesses in Vietnam, and the demand still exists. But I just want to try to get a clear picture for somebody who maybe is not in the country. Like, if you were an investor, how do you feel as somebody who's physically there? Do you think that it's worth the risk? I guess I would also say probably depends how much money they have and how long they can wait to earn.
Yeah, it depends how much money they have, how quickly they'd like to earn, how long they themselves have been in Vietnam, and especially the type of business. So one thing I would be very careful of, I've seen a lot of restaurants open. I don't know about that. I mean, and talk to other people, talk to insiders, because I know education. I don't necessarily know
Mhm.
hospitality or the food industry. But the problem I see is we just got through a pandemic. So if we have another pandemic, what happens to your restaurant? What happens to your hotel, your spa? Name a hospitality thing you think would be cool to do. It would, except if we have another lockdown, you're done. You're not going to
And,
be able to recoup your capital.
and there's
And
no talent.
yeah, go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, and there's no telling if that's going to happen or not. But you did say that it's politically unlikely.
I think so because so many people in the country they rioted. So
Mm,
I can't see the government then being like, well, we got to do this anyway. Like they could try that. They could try that argument, but I think people will just riot very fast. They'll say,
mm.
no, this is not okay.
Can you
And
tell me about
one
these riots? Where were they happening?
Yeah, they were happening near the border, like near Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. I would see some protesters out on the street, but basically these riots happen quickly and they happen viciously. And once the government realized that they had a real problem, because again, you can't have people starve to death, right? Like they'll do whatever they have to do. They'll do whatever it takes to have food that day. If they have to run out and they have a protest, well, oh well, look, if something happens, what do I got to lose? So that's the attitude that the Vietnamese took in. Government wasn't ready for that. They thought
Right.
that they were in control. They're not.
They're not China.
Like that. No, they're not. They can't surveillance the people like China. So they're the public is a lot much more of a threat if you think about it, because you can't monitor them or manage them as well as you can in China.
Right.
So public, they rioted very quickly, very viciously. The government backed down. They just said, okay, we're not doing lockdowns. The prime minister had a speech and he said something to the effect of, we need to investigate other options. Like as if like what, like, aren't you the prime minister? Like, couldn't you just decide to end this like today, right? But no, it's someone else's fault naturally, right? But he finally said, hey, look, this isn't really working in so many words. And then they stopped it. So like I said, I think if you do a lockdown again, the public will just riot, but even quicker, because they'll remember what happened when they did, right? It's almost like they know they can stop it. They'll stop it then. They'll
I
riot just very quickly.
I saw some video footage of people trying to return to their hometowns and kicking down like
Yep.
roadblocks,
There you
but I
go. Yep.
wasn't so aware of the other rioting because I decided to get out of there right before Directive
Yeah.
16.
It was barely reported. Again, like could VN Express, could they report that? Not really.
Okay, so
We'll
that's
probably get in
good.
trouble for that.
That's some information that we're getting now from somebody who's in the country. So that gives me a little reassurance that if the government's response was not one of violence, but one of sort of capitulation, then there is a good chance that it could be the end of lockdowns, which would be good for investors because it does mean that moving forward, they'll try to employ some sort of a different strategy rather than just bankrupting everybody. The concern I have is that even big companies like Samsung have started to leave. I mean,
True.
they've investment of one of the largest companies in the world. So, I feel like we're at a very uncertain time, and I really hope that Vietnam makes the right choices moving forward because, bro, you hear about this new variant today coming out of South Africa.
Omicron. Yeah, Omicron.
This is
It
never
never
going
ends.
to end.
It never will end. Nah, governments love the power too much.
So how far are we going to let people go with this? Like it's got to come to a point where people say
Well,
enough is enough.
some countries have already rioted and then suddenly there's no need for a pandemic anymore. So again, and don't do anything stupid. If you're gonna go to Vietnam, please don't
No.
don't get involved in a riot, guys, right? But listen, I would say if you're in your home country, make a decision. Make a decision if you want to live like this, because honestly, this won't end very easily. I can see this
And
going on for a few more years. Why would it end? Because every day the virus mutates. So when
right,
are we going to not see another mutation or variant or whatever? And then the government, the U.S. government said, "Oh, we'll close the borders. There's no new cases." Just exactly like Trump said in February 2020. Oh, there's no new cases. We close the border. Then there's cases. It doesn't take much. So the point
no.
is, look, we're saying unless there's zero COVID, this won't end. It's a flu. Like, tell me how we stop the flu, especially a stronger flu. What is
Right,
that? What would that even look like to have a vaccine against a flu? What does it even
right.
mean? That's like a
Well,
cure
we
for the
don't.
common cold. How is that going to happen again? So
Yeah.
don't expect it to end, guys.
No, and the thing that they have to remember, guys, is that, in countries like Vietnam, like I said, the decisions come from Hanoi. And if they make a decision, that's it. It's just
Right.
there's not going to be
Right.
no conversation about it. It's
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah. There just
like,
isn't. There doesn't need to be because it's done. The
we don't
government
have any
decided that's it.
yeah, we have no control. We're the bottom of the chain, man. We are on their fucking good
Yeah.
graces in the
Oh, bro, like, do you remember on Facebook there was an expat and he wrote a letter to the prime
yeah,
minister? He's
I
like, yeah,
remember,
let me talk to you, man. I want to talk to you. Can you read my letter, please?
yeah.
I don't think the letter got there. I don't think it got to the prime minister, but
And it was all
yeah.
professional. Like, thought he would really
He really
fucking
sent a
read it.
letter. He sent a letter out to the press. Oh, obviously it didn't get to him because why? How in the world would it get to him? But he wrote it out on Facebook. His
Oh,
whole 10-point plan on how we solve all this.
Mr.
He
Prime
was hoping the
Minister,
prime minister would read it.
Mr. Prime Minister, a TEFL teacher thinks he knows how to tell you
Yeah, a
how to
TEFL
run your.
teacher knows more than the prime minister, or we'll talk to the prime minister. He's so important. There's
Oh,
some characters. There really are some people with a messiah complex out here,
yeah, there's
thinking
some
they're gonna
fucked
save the
up
world.
people in Vietnam from the expat
Right.
standpoint, dude. Not just like the international school teachers who think way too much of themselves, but like the
Yep.
degenerates, the sex tourists, the drug addicts, the fucking. It is a fucking circus over there.
Sure.
Well, have you
Sure.
encountered
Sure.
much of that? What are the characters that you've met so
I
far?
I saw a guy once. I was walking out. It was actually by Mastery, like the loop. So I felt very
Yeah,
safe. But I saw him and I could see he was on drugs. And like I'm sorry to do this because it's gonna mess with the camera, but he literally did that. And I'm not making that up, but he was spazzing out. He was just spazzing out. And
Farner,
I was concerned. It was an
Farner.
eye-opening experience. But look, you talk to some of the other expats, they found ways to get high very easily, even from the pharmacies.
Yeah,
It's
for
very
sure.
easy
I
to do
mean,
so. But
you
it's
could get anything.
dangerous. It's very dangerous because it's cheap. The lifestyle here is cheap. So you can be a fucking, English teacher, TEFL bum, and you make $1,000 a month, you still can afford drugs.
We're like
And that's crazy.
1,500.
So that can be very dangerous for people who they have no self-control. They can get into some really bad habits out here. You'll just die
Drugs,
too. The Vietnamese won't stop you. They'll let you take drugs until you're gone.
yeah.
So you got to
They'll
be very
sell it.
smart about that.
Yeah, drugs, girls. You could end
Sure,
up on the
whatever you
wrong
want.
law. You could end up on the wrong side of the authorities. Like, and then
Yeah,
you're paying huge bribes. I mean, it's
sure.
just. But is that even going to be a thing anymore? Because I've heard it's like expat ghost town now. There's like literally like
Well,
no foreigners
listen,
left.
man, like tonight there are bars open, there are restaurants open. I see a lot of expats, especially because I'm in Taotian. That's the expat hub. I see a ton of them. Like a lot of
Okay,
us, we survived it. We were able
good.
to sweat it out. But again, I think what will happen is Vietnam will split like every other society in the world, but they're going to
Right,
split between the haves and the have-nots. You really want to work hard to be part of the haves. You want to work as
right,
hard as you can to get in a good school if you want to teach or start a business with enough money, with a real business plan that can't be ruined by COVID. It's got to be COVID proof. You
right.
can't have a risk here like, oh, well, it'll work out. We don't know what the government will do. But if your business is online or otherwise can't be affected by COVID, there you go. That's much smarter. But if you have a business plan, if you're a good teacher with a license and a degree, and you go to international school, I think you're going to do a little bit better. I just think Vietnam has changed. There was a time where you could just show up and you get a job, and it would be totally fine. You'd have an amazing time. You still can have an amazing time, just have a little bit more of a plan.
Yeah, and let's see, because maybe as Cambodia opens, you might see Vietnam do the same, and then they may decide to kind of look the other way again because their industry, literally their ESL industry, is on the verge of collapse. So I
Yeah,
mean,
for
they're
Cambodia.
yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know. I don't want to say for sure what they're going to do or what they're not going to do because ultimately it's up to them to set policy. So let's bring it to an end. I want you to leave us with some final thoughts about your time in Vietnam. Have we been helpful working with us? And
Yeah,
like,
and obviously, Jay, you've been a great help, and it's really great to have your friendship. And you're
thanks,
definitely
man.
a guy with like a lot of street smarts, and you understood the game very well. I think you really helped all of us. You've helped dozens of people at this point, maybe hundreds even. I'm not sure, but you
Hundreds
did a great
actually.
job with me. And as far as my time in Vietnam, in general, I would say 95% has been awesome. I love this
Great.
country. I've had amazing opportunities. I'm making more money than ever. I've met a lot of really great people, made some great friends. I live in a beautiful apartment, great food whenever I want, cheap. Like I said, I'm saving 90+% of my income. The only thing is you got to have a plan. That's I think my biggest piece of advice, if I can give any advice, is come in with a plan, try to come in legally, try to get a good job or start a business. And I think you'll be fine.
And I would say come in with enough money to be sure that if something does go wrong, you're going to be okay.
You can, yeah, get out of there. I try to keep an emergency fund of maybe 2,000, and that should be more than enough to buy a plane ticket anywhere in case I need
Yeah.
to do that.
So
So far, I don't need to, and I've been very grateful. But look, I mean, anything can happen. And I think, for example, I'm working at international school, but look, guys, I got basically like money taken away from my account, and I don't feel that it was fair. I almost feel like
right,
it was theft. So I had to
right.
do something about that. That's the thing you got to be flexible about is look, this is going to be a very good opportunity, but things can go south. You got to have a plan in case that happens.
Now, what did they do with your
But
visas? Did they have you on the correct visas? Was that
yep,
organized? Was that
that's all
organized well,
legal.
or was
It's
that a
legal.
mess?
Yeah, it's organized well. So
Okay.
everything's good. That's also a reason why they can't just like boot me out. Because, like, for example, let's say you're here illegally, they can kick you out for any reason or no reason. They can decide not to pay you. The problem is, how are you going to get that back? Now, in normal times, it wouldn't have really been an issue because you just move on.
Right.
This job sucks, move on, find a new one. Doesn't matter. But the problem now is if you leave your job during the pandemic, it's an uphill battle. Like, good luck if you're able to figure out how you stay in the country. You have no
Right.
time. You've got 2 weeks to find another company and make sure you get the letter, the exit letter. You have an uphill battle and good luck for you on that. But like, try to find a job that you're not going to need to do that. And I think you'll be okay. And again, if you don't want to do a job, start a business. Vietnam's a good
Right.
place to do that
It
because you
is. It
got
is.
the country loves Americans. So if you're an American, American businesses are great. You're gonna have a ton of income. You'll have very low costs because labor's cheap and just the rent is cheap and so on. So you can really start to make a good living out here if you got a good plan. Just make sure your plan is COVID proof.
Right. So even after all the lockdowns, even after the difficulties with getting food and your job fucking playing games, you still overall feel that Vietnam is a worthwhile
Oh
place
yeah.
to be, and you
I
would
think
still recommend.
because yeah, like what I said, I think that I have set up an opportunity for myself that is not bulletproof, but pretty close to being bulletproof because they can't find someone else. What I
Right.
do is so rare that no one else is able to teach it. So it's like,
Right.
well, play by my rules then, or you're screwed. So in
You
that
still
sense, I have a little bit of power. And it's like if you can navigate that, you're gonna really do well.
and you still recommend it for others who would be thinking
I
of
think so. I
coming.
think so. You just have to look at your situation. Like, again, just ask yourself, do I have a rare skill? Do I have a skill that really would legitimately be hard to replace or much needed in Vietnam? And two, am I legal? Have I been able to figure out all of the legal paperwork? Do I have the degree? Do I have a teaching license? If you're legal, I think you're doing okay. And if you're not, I think you're taking a huge risk because, again, Vietnam is not like what it was 4 or 5 years ago, where you could just
Fuck.
rock in, get a
Go.
job, you lose it, you get another job that day, whatever. It's
Yeah.
just not like that anymore.
4 or 5 months ago, bro. Not, you know,
Yeah, I was
it,
being generous, but you're right. Even a year ago, it was normal, but we're not in
yeah.
normal times.
No. So, guys, this is a great example of somebody who, he came out here. The situation was complicated, but it still works for him. So he's managed to stick it out. He worked with us. We helped him get established. We helped him get his partner into the country. We've done a lot of good things by a lot of people, and I like to do these interviews because it gives you a chance to kind of get to know people who have worked with us and their perspectives and what they feel about what's happening in the country. Guys, check out my TEFL that's sponsoring me. It's called the New York TEFL Academy. It's the TEFL you cannot fail. We also have, some great content coming out from our trip to Southern Albania. So check that out. We're headed over to Phnom Penh. In the next few months, we're going to be based in Cambodia. So at the moment, guys, we have our Cambodia service. We can help you get invitation letters so you can stay in Cambodia long term. We can help you get into Vietnam, but you will need your documents. We can also help you get, set up in Albania if you want to come here, open a business, do something like as a digital nomad or a retiree. We're helping a guy right now open a plastic surgery recovery clinic here in Tirana. And yeah, we're getting him a 10-bedroom villa. It's an awesome project. And just leave him with some last words, Todd. Let's let him know, like, how you feel, bro.
I say Vietnam's an amazing place. Come here if you can. And if you're ready to enjoy yourself, you got a good opportunity here.
That's great. And, he's not been, even though he's been through a lot, he's not given up on Vietnam. He still sees a future in Vietnam. He has said in the interview that he thinks that it's going to be politically impossible to completely close another lockdown. So again, he's not your lawyer, but this is the indicators that someone who's in the country is feeling right now. And, I think that that's a positive, and that you can look at his experience, and maybe it's not going to mirror your experience, but hopefully you can learn something from it. And again, let's go back to the flexibility being the key. Hopefully this interview was helpful for you guys. Subscribe and share. Please comment, share the video around. Let's help fight this algorithm. Listen, I know I'm not fucking Joe Rogan, but motherfucker,
You're getting there.
Yeah,
We got you. Yeah, you're getting there, Jay.
Well, I'm cursing less, and I changed my name from the White Monkey Syndicate, so I think that's bro. I gained 10 subscribers since I did that. No, sorry, I gained 20 subscribers since I changed the name from the White Monkey Syndicate to the New York.
Yeah, 20's good.
Yeah, well, I think the PC thing, it wasn't working in my favor with the White Monkey name.
Right.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to Todd for coming on and giving us his experiences. Yeah. And I hope you guys enjoyed all the content. Leave us some comments. We can help you get into the country, but like I'm telling you guys, it's a fucking process. If you're just a TEFL teacher or you just want an easy gig, I think holler at us about Cambodia, because Vietnam is going to be, at least at this point, it's going to be expensive unless you're very, very qualified. All right?
Just tough to get in, but it's good if you can get in.
That's what I'm saying. I love it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Jay. Good to see you.
Brush your face and wash your teeth, son.
Yo, my man got me a job. Come to Vietnam.
The White Monkey got me a job during the pandemic.
The White Monkey got me into Vietnam during COVID.
The White Monkey got me into Vietnam during the pandemic. I'm at school now on break. If he did it for me, he can do it for you. It's pretty easy. Check him out.
Ooh, to whom it may concern, White Monkey Syndicate got me the job of all jobs. Thank you.
White Monkey got me a job. Brush your teeth.
The White Monkey Syndicate got me a job, aka your father.
White Monkey got me a job.
White Santa, baby, brush your teeth.
Monkey got me a job, hit him up.
Yo, it's the Whoopi Goldberg of the ESL game, educating you youngins in the Englishes.
White Monkey got me a motherfucking job.
White Jesus, baby.
White Monkey got me a job.
Brush your teeth.
Hey, what's up, guys? You thinking about coming to Vietnam? You're not sure where to start? You've heard a lot of things online. You don't know what's true. You don't know what's not. We here at the White Monkey Syndicate offer a consulting service where we help you get on your feet in Vietnam. We give you advice on negotiating contracts with employers. We help you with real estate agents, visa agents that are reliable and that you can trust. We help you get started in this amazing country and get on your feet. We help you get into different opportunities that might be more difficult for you if you were just landing in the country on your own. And we help you avoid a lot of the pitfalls and problems that you could have as a newcomer here. We provide you with reliable job recruiters, visa agents, real estate agents, and advice. If you guys are thinking about coming to Vietnam, hit us up for a consultation. We'll help you get started, help you get on your feet, and hopefully you'll love Vietnam as much as we do. What do you think of when you think of Albania? I think of opportunity. I think of a country that's open. I think of a country that wants long-stay expats, that wants people to come and invest, wants new ideas, and is looking towards the West. I think that Albania is a beautiful country with incredible landscapes that can offer a very comfortable lifestyle at a very reasonable price. We at the White Monkey Syndicate will help navigate your journey to becoming an expat in Albania. We're working with some of the top lawyers in the city. We can help establish businesses. We can help you get your residency. We can help you get real estate. We can arrange almost any contact that you might need for the process of moving here in almost any city in the country. We will simplify the process. We'll make it a lot easier for you to move to a country that maybe in the past would have been more of a challenge. With our help, it's going to be a walk in the park.